Hi, everyone. Good morning. I am Camille Miller of the Natural Life Business Partnership, and this is November 28th of 2018. And we are once again with our guest, Uli Iserloh from Big Boost Marketing. Uli helps health practitioners attract, nurture, and convert more prospects into clients. He was with us last month, October, talking about how to attract clients, which was a fabulous session. So if you missed that, definitely go back and Google that session. That was awesome. So we asked him to come back today and talk about how to self-publish a best-selling book and build your authority. Thank you, Uli, for joining us again.
Yeah, so glad to be back here and sharing sort of some of the insights that we have gathered. I know you and I could talk forever about any number of topics.
Yes.
Mary Ellen was talking about niching. I could talk just on that forever. But today, what we want to really talk about is the power of having a book, whether it's self-published, whether it's traditionally published, and how to leverage this to really anchor in your authority. And with authority comes obviously preeminence. And the concept of preeminence is really that your audience already knows who you are, why you are the one for them, and why they should be working with you, which then makes essentially the entire sales process a lot easier. And obviously in the healthcare arena, that means enrolling clients or patients into your services, into the products, etc.
So before we get started, why don't you talk a little bit about your background and why you're such an expert in this field?
Yeah, so working with integrative practitioners, our team is really helping them figure out how to, identify the ideal audience that they should be targeting, what their services should be, and what the marketing should be that needs to connect it to, and helping them with preeminence on social media, on their websites, in their email marketing, and video for a holistic framework. And so one of the things that we've done in the past is we helped different authors self-publish their book and market it to bestseller status. And so what I wanted to share the story is this is an idea of my wife. I don't know, can we see this? Okay, this is backwards, but it's 50 Shades of Kale. So I want to start out by telling the story of what happened and how this book actually turned into a print book published by HarperCollins, and how we got a book deal within 2 weeks. And for those of you that are trying to get into traditional publishing, that process is usually 18 months, 2 years. It's a lot of hand twisting, arm twisting. And so I want to share with you how we use self-publishing to actually get a regular publishing deal. And what happened with this book is that it actually got translated into other languages. So this is the Norwegian hardcover version. So I think there's over 90,000 hardcover copies that have sold today. And just to set the foundation, if your book sells more than 5,000 copies, that's considered a success. So getting to 80,000, that is massive success. So the way this happened is that in August, I think it was August 2015, my wife and her co-author had this idea, hey, there's 50 Shades of Gray out there. Why don't we do 50 Shades of Kale? And it's 50 kale recipes and a little intro. And that was the concept. And, just the title, 50 Shades of Kale, you said, oh, that's a winner. People will want to buy this. They know exactly what's in the book. It's totally logical. And so, we talked to a book agent, and the book agent says, well, if you take this to HarperCollins or, one of the big 3, big 5 publisher to get a book deal, they will sit on it forever. They will hemming and hawing. They will thinking, do we get sued if we, infringement with the name? So the book agent said, just publish the book. So what we did is we wrote the recipes, we wrote the introduction, we had a professional cover designed, and then we put it out into Amazon. And that's stage 1, building the book, getting it on Amazon. Now at this point, it's not a bestseller yet, it's just a book that lives on Amazon with everyone else. Mm-hmm. And so then the next step that we did is we ran a bestseller campaign, which includes, in a nutshell, getting reviews for the book. So you have to have 20, 30 reviews for the book before anybody wants to promote it, because nobody is going to read the book. They just look, how many reviews does the book have? So if you have 1 2-star review, you will never get this book promoted and featured anywhere. So you have to first get the reviews in place, which we did. And then we ran a 5-day campaign through Kindle Select, and we got 36,000 people to download the Kindle version of the book for free in those 5 days. Wow. And so when that happened, 2 weeks later, this was like late October, the idea was in August, the book was published in beginning of September, the promotion hit in October. November 10th, 2015, HarperCollins gives us a call. Hey, why the heck did you not pitch this book to us? We want to buy you out. And so what they look at is, do we like the book? On Amazon, they downloaded the Kindle version. They said, check, I like the book. Good concept. We have a couple changes, is that we like to have different images, but the content is good, and we just want 10 more pages of introduction. So for them, they had already no need for a manuscript or for proposal to get the book out there. They said, we see the finished book, we love the book, all we need is a new cover and new images, and this is good to go. So for them, this is super low risk. And they also saw 36,000 people downloaded it, so they knew there's a market for this book, for this title. So for them, it was really a no-brainer to rather than take a chance on a first-time author and have them write a proposal and hope that the manuscript comes out and that the book actually comes out. For them, they love self-published books because they can download the book, they can evaluate the manuscript, they can evaluate the concept, and they can see how well is it doing on Amazon. And so for them, it's really a no-brainer. And this is how first-time authors really get traditional book deals these days. It's not going to an agent, negotiating for 2 years, and then getting a book deal. It's just taking matters in your own hands, demonstrating that the market wants your book. And then you have any number of publishers saying, I want you. We had a book deal in 2 weeks. So then they send us back to the farm, take pictures. So, we had a photographer, and it's full color throughout the entire book. They send it to their publishing division, and 5 months later it got released as a hardcover book. And I wanted to sort of continue the story. That was the starting point. So the book is out. Then we did some PR, and some of our PR landed us on CBS Sunday Morning on the late night show with Craig Ferguson. And so when we were on CBS Sunday Morning talking about the book, obviously everyone went to Amazon. And within half an hour, this book was #2 in all of Amazon. Books, products, it didn't matter. It was like the second best-selling product on Amazon in that 3-hour window. And obviously then, when it was that high up, now everyone else, even if they hadn't seen CBS Sunday Morning, saw the book. Oh my God, this is a perfect Christmas gift. Let me buy it.
Okay.
And that turned into foreign language editions. We then took the concept of 50 Shades Kale and created the National Kale Day and launched that. And then we got corporate sponsors from the growers, to spread awareness about kale. And so you can see that the book was really the starting point to unleash any number of things. So that was the story. And this is what can happen if you tee this up right. But there's a lot of decisions that go into creating a book.
Yes. So now I have a new list of questions. So why don't we start with the idea of creating the book?
Yeah.
Like if you could walk us through that process, and then I have a lot of questions from what you told earlier, just about, how you got the reviews and the downloads and
exactly.
And the marketing afterwards. So why don't we start with the process of self-publishing a book from the idea?
Yeah.
And just so I understand, and for our listeners that understand, when you self-publish a book, you don't actually have to have them all printed and sitting in your basement too.
Exactly. So we can talk about the options.
Yeah.
So the first thing that you do is obviously you look at your client avatar and your services. And you ask yourself, how is this book making me an authority to my ideal clients, right? It has to be in line with this to really make sense. On its own, I mean, yes, if you have a book that sells 80,000 copies, you get royalty checks and there's money coming in from it. But compared to the back-end business, once you are actually the authority and you get speaking engagement, you get clients, you get other opportunities, you make so much more money with this. So the book in itself is not a money maker. It's just edifying your authority. So, obviously, that said, there is some books are passion projects, but, by and large, nonfiction books work very well because people can open the book, look at the table of contents and see, do I like this? You know, a fiction work, you have to read the book in order to make that determination. So what we're talking about in this call is really nonfiction books that, you know, anchor in your authority. And so you have to start with the concept and the hook. You know, what is the overarching concept of the book? So with 50 Shades of Kale, if I just say the title, you know exactly what's in the book. It's got to be 50 recipes with kale. Now, there were other knockoffs, 50 shades of chicken, 50 shades of what have you, fill in the blank. So, you know, it has to be that you say, okay, this is something that's novel and what people want.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where the concept comes in. Now, the second consideration is, if this is supposed to further your back-end business and you just have the book on Amazon, what is it that your back-end services are doing? So with 50 Shades of Kale, what would be the product or the membership or the online program or whatever we're doing at the back end to get people from book buyers into buying our other services? And so, you know, in this case, we had a collection of recipes that we wanted to sell. So we have to somehow in the book, in the ebook, in the Kindle book, get people from the book onto our website to opt into our list to then buy the book.
Right.
I want to make sure that everyone gets this. So in the case of 50 Shades of Kale, if I can share my screen here for a second. Let me try here. I want to show you the landing page. Can you see this?
Yeah, and let's talk about it a little bit because some people are just listening to this, not
Okay.
feeling.
So the idea is when somebody buys a book on Amazon, you don't know who that person is. So you can't follow up with them. And we know it takes probably 7 to 10 touch points to go from a no to a yes. So you got already one yes, they bought the book. But that's not going to help you because you don't know who that person is. So how do we get the book buyers to actually opt in our mailing list and come to our website? And so this is where this concept of a landing page comes into place. So we had a domain name, 50 Shades of Kale.com. And when people come from the book, we had these little thumbnail images of videos saying, hey, watch this video, how to make this kale recipe. Now, obviously, in a Kindle book, you can't watch a video. But they clicked on the image thumbnail, and that took them to this page, to a landing page. And now on the landing page, we said, grab your 7 days of kale bonuses. And so there was like different recipes and different things that they got for 7 days. But that was the mechanism by which we converted an Amazon Kindle book buyer into a subscriber to our email list. And now they're getting 7 days of emails with one video each, you know, kale smoothie, kale cooking with kale, kale sides, whatever it was. And then obviously, as part of that messaging, feature some of the other things that we wanted to sell them on.
Love it.
And
Absolutely
so
love
as
it.
you're thinking about your book, you have to think about, when we're talking about the concept, you have the concept for the book. What is the content that you're going to have in the book versus what is the content that's in your membership area or in your product, right? If you have a course on sleeping better, what information do you put in the book and what information do you want them to buy in your online course? So you have to be, as you're writing the book, figuring out where's the line in the sand. Okay, this is the stuff that's in the course. This is what's in the book. And a useful framework is the book discusses the what and why. So it makes the case why people should be doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then the how is what's in your online product. Or the how could be, if you're a physician, come into our practice and we can talk about implementing it, whatever it is. So you have to think about in terms of services and offers, you know, how does the book really tee up the offer that you have and what you put. You want to put everything into the book, then you have nothing for your online program or you know, the services. Now, I'm not saying that you have to do an online program, but if you are rendering services, how does the book actually transfer people into this arena of the services? And how do you not cannibalize your paid offering with a free book or with a book in the front?
Exactly.
Other things is when you're talking about, you know, again, with a recipe booklet, it's natural to have video thumbnails with recipes. You know, let me show you how to cook this. But if your topic is not involving recipes, you can always offer an audiobook version of the book. So people can go to your website and get the audio version of the book and download this. So, you know, there's different ways to include lead magnets that we talked about in the last call into your book so that there's a mechanism for people to see in the book and it makes sense. Okay, here's the ancillary bonus material the behind the scenes, whatever you can come up with.
Beautiful. So just to recap, the book in this case, the book was really kind of like the stage to sell your back end, or whatever
Exactly.
your product was in the beginning. So it should be like, when you're thinking of your book, you want to think of what that back end is.
Exactly. And that you're clear on, and when you create it, how does that content, needs to be distributed, where, how much can I go into this? And then in the book, how can I sow the seeds and for people to go to your landing page? Now, in the book, we had different lead magnets. They didn't go to different landing pages. They all ended up on the same landing page. And then when they opted in, they come to a thank you page with a video where the two authors introduce themselves. So don't think that, you have multiple lead magnets in the book with different things. You can all send them to the same opt-in page, get them to opt in, and then over the course of 7 days, you will deliver all the things that you promised them, all the different videos. So yes, if you clicked on the video for kale smoothie, unfortunately, you may not get immediately the kale smoothie video because that's in day 4. But when they opted in, they get something equal and they're fine. And, ultimately they get to the kale smoothie recipe. So nobody's going to call you out, hey, I opted in for the kale smoothie and you didn't give me the kale smoothie. If that ever happened, I would say it's in day 4. Just wait.
Okay. And I'm curious, after they get that, the drip emails and all of the things, what is the action you try to get them to do? Are you building authority to sell them a class or sell them something else later?
Yeah, I mean, part of this is maybe interwoven into the videos that, people watch the video and then you can make in that video. It's like, hey, if you like this kale smoothie and you want my recipe booklet with 20 kale smoothies and other smoothies, click the link below. So you can sell from each email in that sequence. You can, if you're health practitioners, you could invite people into a free phone consult, to a workshop. So there's a number of things that you want to pitch. Again, if you're thinking about, as a health practitioner, maybe you have a methodology how you go treat patients. Maybe if you're in gut health, you have a repair phase, a restore phase, a reseed phase. If you're thinking about what's the book about, well, maybe you should talk about the 3 phases and anchor in why you need these 3 phases. And then in each phase, okay, what is something that they want to do? Push them to the landing page, have them opt in, and then the 7 videos or the 3 videos talk about how to reseed your gut or how to do this. So then you can demonstrate what your program looks like. And then in the video, you can say, if you want to take further action and want to work with me directly to restore your gut health, schedule a free phone consultation. So the 7-day sequence and the book explains really your process. And if people like the book and they like the video series, they naturally like how you treat patients. So you're essentially making a virtual test drive of what it is working with you, and then you just invite them into a phone consultation.
Excellent. So now we understand the approach to why we're publishing a book, but how about the actual writing of the book? And for someone that's maybe never written a book or have thought about it, maybe they speak, and can use this as
the ideal books could be somewhere in the range of 70, 80 pages. So you don't have to think that this needs to be in a 250-page book competing head-to-head with Mark Hyman. That's not the point.
That's not a good one to go against either.
Exactly. So the idea is really, and there's other people that talk about the process of writing a book. One of them is Chandler Bolt with Self-Publishing School. And he has a $7 book out there that you can buy that walks you through the process of how to write a book. But in a nutshell, what he says is, if you think about a book, and as a health practitioner, we always have this transformational journey. Our patients or clients are here, they're stuck on Pain Island, and then when they work with you, they get to Pleasure Island. And that journey, you're helping them along. You're their guide, you're their Yoda. So if you're thinking about the journey, what are maybe the 3 to 7 steps along this journey that need to happen? So we talked about gut health. First thing is like maybe the elimination diet. Then it's like rebalancing, and then it's restore, whatever it is. So map out what are the steps, and those steps could be mirroring what you're doing in your clinic, in your business. If you have a service or a product, what does a product work? So you have to sort of think about that success path. What is somebody walking through, and what are maybe the 4 to 7 big chunks. And so then chunk 1 is chapter 1, chunk 2 is chapter 2, chunk 7 is chapter 7. So if they go through that book in that journey and follow along, they sort of get taken on this success path. And then you just add an introductory chapter and maybe a bonus chapter at the end with resources, and that becomes your book.
I love it. So I was even thinking, so for our own organization, which we had some conversation right before we turned on the recording, but for our own conversation, most of the people that are joining all have holistic businesses. They're trying to get from the start point to being a successful practitioner. A million different levels in between. You can actually be at one place and trying to get to the next level as well. But like one of the things we talk about all the time is, how do you create your client avatar? You know, that could be, so you're saying like that could be one chapter because everyone comes in with that same problem.
Yeah. You just mirroring what your services are,
right,
and just talk about it, and focus on the what and why, and then sow these seeds saying, hey, for more details on this, join us on our upcoming webinar or go to our webinar. So again, we want to send them to an opt-in page to collect their email, but it doesn't have to be 7 days of Kale or 7 days of business in the health, holistic business in the box. It could be a webinar that you send people to, right? There's different mechanisms to collect somebody's email. And then as you structure the book, the writing process itself is, if you have the big chapters and you think about, okay, what are sort of the 5 talking points in there? So, you have now a matrix of 7 chapters, 5 talking points each. And then in each of the 5 talking points, what are maybe 3 bullets? So you have 15 sort of checkpoints for a chapter, and then you just write, content for each of those bullets and items. And again, that is then your book.
Yeah. Basically, it's creating that outline that you learned in like the 4th grade.
Exactly.
You have the outline and you just fill it all in.
Fill it all in. And the important part is, from a practical perspective, you may find that you speak faster than you talk. And so the idea may not be that you necessarily write this out all by yourself, but you could turn on a Zoom or a voice recorder on your smartphone, and then you just talk about that particular bullet that you're talking about. You can talk 2-3 minutes, then send that audio into a transcription service that transcribes it for you. And so then you don't actually have to type it. You just get it out of your head onto paper. And then you have a rough outline of content that makes sense. And that gets you to sort of the finished product faster. At that point, all the content and your ideas are out on paper. So what you could do is you could hire and partner with a strategic editor that's now actually, rewriting it for you, so that you actually don't have to copy edit your own manuscript, but you can partner with somebody to take those ingredients and then push it out there. And I would say for each chapter, make sure you have 2 stories, personal stories or experiences. Again, that gives the book more color. It's more engaging rather than just droning on about information. And the other thing I want to mention for those of you considering writing a book is, talking about only information can be a very dangerous thing. What if your information is proven wrong, etc.? So there's this fine line that you're walking, but if you talk about your experiences, nobody can ever wrong you for or accuse you of your experiences. That what you experienced, that's how you felt, and nobody can challenge you on this. So that's why we say put experiences and things into the book. You can use this as proof point, and nobody will be able to say, no, you don't know what you're talking about. The information is wrong. It's like, doesn't matter. This is how it worked. My case, if I were doing a book on how to publish a book, I would tell the story of this. This is what happened. This is what we did. This is the results. This is what you can learn from it.
Wow, that's fabulous advice. You are so filled with these interesting tidbits every time we talk to you.
Yeah.
So
now the next part in the process is really, once you have the manuscript in place, you may not, some people start with a title first and then write the book. Other times you just know this is the book I have in you, and you have to be cool with the title may arrive later. You write the book, you think you had this title, and then you write the book, and it's like, is this really the best title? Or what do other people think about the title? And so, be okay that the title may change at the very end. The next process is really the book cover. And, when people come to Amazon, if you have a professional cover, nobody will be able to tell the difference between a self-published book and a HarperCollins or,
Right.
Rodale book. Because people really judge the book by its cover. They don't know who the publisher is. They don't even care who the publisher is. If the book looks and feels like a real, professionally, traditionally published book, you're on even footing. The perception is really what matters. It doesn't matter that you self-published it. If the book is good, if the cover looks good, those are the two things.
So you're saying spend money on the way it looks.
Yeah, and there's book designer out there. You don't have to go necessarily with Fiverr. There's other services out there for $200-300. You can get an amazing book cover that looks just like the real thing. Well, it's the real thing, but this is important. The other exercise that you want to enter into is in Amazon. You have to pick 2 subcategories or three subcategories to have your book published in. So it could be health publications, diets, weight loss. And then there's subcategories. So you have to look at, okay, what are the top selling books in the weight loss category? Are they all green covers? Are they all yellow covers? So you have to sort of imagine, if my book were in this panel on Amazon of 20 books, how can I make my book stand out like a sore thumb and be seen? So if all the books are blue and white, your book should be orange, because it doesn't matter if your book is in a number 10 slot. If your book is the only one with an orange cover, people will look at the orange cover. This is the same thing what you do on social media, on Facebook. Facebook is blue, white, and gray. So you don't want to have anywhere images that are using blue, white, and gray, because you just blend in. You want to go opposite. You want to go orange, bright red. Same with the book cover.
Fabulous. Let's go back to titles for 1 minute. You were talking about titles, and I know people struggle with the titles. Does the title really matter? Do you have to connect it with keywords of any type? Is it just catchy to say exactly what's in the book, like you were saying earlier with the 50 Shades, you know exactly what was in it?
Yeah, I think you have the opportunity of a main title and then a subtitle. So, the subtitle for 50 Shades of Kale was 50 fresh and satisfying recipes that are bound to please. Bound to please. Obviously, now we're tying it in with the 50 Shades of Gray. And, some of the other things that when we thought about the book is, we have, I don't know if you can see this, we have all these cooking utensils bound up with rope. And so now we're tying it into the 50 Shades of Gray thing. At first, the publisher says, can you just ditch these things? And we're saying, are you out of your mind? That's the thing, that's the tongue-in-cheek thing that brings it together. Get over it. And then they went with it, and people are raving about it. So, when you're working with a traditional publisher, they think they know it all, but in the end, nobody knows the book as well as you do. Nobody knows your target market as well. They're coming up with cover ideas where you just shake your head. What are you guys thinking? It's like, so this is the tough part, that when you have a traditional book deal, you are, in exchange for a book advance, you're relinquishing some of the control, what goes into the book, what the cover looks like. And so that can be sort of tricky to navigate. So, but going back to the titles, it's just like webinar titles. It has to attract people's attention. It has to invoke curiosity, that they're wondering, okay, what's in the book? The title is there for people to actually open the book and look what's in it, right? That's it, the purpose of a title. Just like the purpose of a headline or the purpose of a webinar title is, we want people to go to the webinar registration page and then see what's there, and then decide if they want to buy it, if they want to opt in, etc. So it's a mix of curiosity, a mix of benefits. Obviously 50 Shades of Kale. People know kale is a vegetable, so obviously we're talking probably healthy recipes, eating more kale. So I'm getting healthier. So the benefit is implied there, and you just start with a title and then shop it around your target audience. You could run a Facebook ad or a Facebook post to your Facebook group and saying, hey, just make it a blog post and see, are people clicking on it? If you could run an ad with different titles and see which ad gets the most clicks. So there's ways to split test it and see what you can do. The same with a cover. You run different ads with different covers and you count how many people liked each cover. There's always this
I love
thing.
that. Yeah, and it gets them excited for the book to come out.
Exactly. So, you can enroll your audience in the, hey, we're just, doing our book covers. Here's 3 options. Which one do you like best? Now, that's probably a biased sample, but, it gives you some ideas. If everyone says, go with version 2, okay, what's different in version 2? And, amp up with this. So with 50 Shades of Kale, we ran a Facebook ad campaign where we had 4 different ad images, one of each cover version. And then we just looked at, Facebook was serving as equally to a target audience, and we just count, version 1 got 97 clicks, version 2 got 420 clicks, version 3 got 19 clicks. So we knew that was the stinker. And then, use that as a guide.
Right. So going back to the publisher, I had a question there. How much autonomy do you have? Can you say no? Because it's still your name, your brand. When you get that book deal, is like that picture you put out, is that in the final book?
So part of it is, it depends on each publisher. And, publishers, what goes into their mind is similar to what I said at the beginning. They look at, does this author have a platform? If you have an Instagram account with 25,000 followers, you have a lot more clout than somebody with 2,000 followers.
Right.
And we're saying the two people have the same idea. And the other part is like, the quality of the proposal. If they really feel like you have a strong pitch and, you're shopping it around, maybe you can get a better condition with one publisher over another one. I mean, the typical book advance for a first-time author is around $10,000. So it's not a lot of money, and you have to sort of put all the labor into it.
Right.
So, you have to ask yourself, is $10,000 enough? And, again, there's the idea, if you can get a book agent, the book agent typically takes somewhere between 10 and 15% of the fee, but the book agent has a lot more connections with publisher, and the book agent may get you a $20,000 advance instead of the $10,000 that you negotiated on your own. So they get 15% of $20,000, but you're overall making more money by having an agent, and, the agent is the person that's negotiating and arm twisting and knows what to look for. So, my wife has done 28 cookbooks. So we have been through this process 28 times.
Yeah.
And, you kind of know what the rules of the road are in terms of the conditions. Usually you try to retain the audio and media rights. No publisher will say that, they will all say you will be consulted on the cover selection, but ultimately the choice is theirs.
Okay.
So, this is really how it works. So you have to decide, obviously the publisher will then probably also remove all your lead magnets. So, at that point, the published book will not have necessarily the links to your landing page. For them, they want to take this out. So that's typically what happens. But, for you, it's, hey, you wrote the book. It already was a bestseller on Amazon. Now you get bought out. It's legit. It's cool. It
Okay.
still works.
Well, that's significant though, because then you have to consider losing those leads. But it sounds like your wife had a huge audience already going into this.
Right.
So some of the questions I had from when you started were, you talked about getting all of those reviews as part of the process. And I was going to ask, how did you go ahead and get all those views? Did you go and ask your audience, which you already had? So you didn't create an audience.
Yeah, there's a couple of things. There's a couple of things that happen. The step in between the manuscript and actually getting the book on Amazon is obviously you have to get the cover, and then there's services out there. We use a team in the Philippines where you just send them the Word manuscript, they're formatted, they upload it, they create the document, the EPUB document to go on Amazon. So this is like a super low-tech, low-effort way where you just give them the Word document and the cover, and they take care of the rest, and your book appears on Amazon in your Amazon account. And then you need to have sort of a back cover description, so the Amazon author page that needs to be filled out. And obviously you want to appear like the people that are in regular print, that are with a traditional publisher. Now, just while I talk about this and we're talking about Amazon reviews, before you start building your book, it may be helpful to look at all your competing books in Amazon and then look at the reviews for that book. And let's say you have a book from Dr. Mark Hyman, you ignore all the 5-star reviews and you ignore all the 1-star reviews. And you only look at the 3-star reviews. And the 3-star review are usually the honest ones. They say, this is a great book. It has everything I wanted. I wish it had fill in the blank.
Okay.
Pay attention to this, because that is the whole in the market is saying my book needs to fill this thing. So if you look through hundreds of reviews, the reviews will tell you what the audience actually wants. I said, oh, I like this book. I love this and this and this, but I wish it had also this. And so as you're building your manuscript, that is something to take into consideration.
Excellent.
And then when you do the book description, you can say, unlike other books that only talk about XYZ, this book also provides this, and you really point out that you're filling the hole in the donut.
Wow. That's a good niche right there. Very
Yeah.
good. So
going back to the reviews. Sorry.
Did you ask those people to do the reviews?
So, we then identified a number of people that were interested, people that were in our tribe, other people to review the book. So we sent them a copy of the book. They ultimately had to purchase the book on their own. So, for some of them, the book was like $1.99, so they just paid it.
Right.
But we wanted to make sure that we got reviews from paying buyers, not just from free people.
Right.
They got a free copy. So, we made sure that they had all the support they needed to write the reviews and put it up there. And if you're doing a launch, behind the scenes, obviously you can then sort of tell everyone, can you go on today and leave your review today, and make sure that you have enough people leaving reviews to give the book traction. And that process can be sometimes feel like pulling teeth. It's like having people write testimonials for you.
Yeah.
They say they want to do it, and it takes forever for them to do it. So,
exactly.
You have to ask probably 3 times the amount of people that you want reviews for, because 2/3 will never get to it. So,
all right, good info. And how many reviews did you say you ended up getting that helped launch it? I know it was a large number.
I think it was probably around 20 or 25 reviews.
Okay. That's
And wanted to make sure, and reviews, just like with any holistic business, when you have Google reviews, if somebody is looking up your business on Google and sees you have 5 reviews and 2 of them are 1-star reviews, they will have a negative perception of your business.
Right.
Now, if your business has 150 reviews and has 6 1-star reviews, people will assume, okay, these were 6 disgruntled people. It's normal. Everyone else says it's amazing. So then suddenly the negative reviews don't matter. Same with Amazon. If you have 2 people saying, I hated the book, 1 star, that can be a negative if you have not a lot of reviews. But if you have 25 plus reviews, then obviously it makes a lot of sense. Now, again, This is something that you can seed in the follow-up sequence. So if you have people buying the book, opting in on your mailing list, they go through the 7 days of Kale, you can embed as call to action, hey, I would appreciate it if you go back to my Amazon book page and leave a review.
Nice.
So, again, everyone that goes to the funnel, you can remind it. And even if they, 15 days later, it's like, hey, just about that review, did you do it yet? If not, please do it today. So you can put reminders in there to sort of garner more reviews down the road.
Terrific. And then we also talked about your download numbers.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't know Amazon Kindle Select program, or Amazon KDP, it's a program where Amazon allows people for 5 days, every 90 days, to download your book at a price that you dictate. Or allows you to download it for free. So it says normally $4.99, today $0, or today only 99 cents. And so what Amazon does is that it allows you to change the pricing for 5 days and make it free. So that way you can get a lot of people to download the book. And so you have to have a promotional campaign around it. So let's talk about Amazon's algorithm and why the algorithm is important to get a bestseller. So you have the book in 3 subcategories. And in order to become number 1 in each of the subcategories, you may only need 5 to 10 sales in a 3-hour window. And so the idea is, can we get everyone to purchase the book in a 6-hour window or in 1 day?
Got it.
I don't want it spread out over 3 days. I ideally want everyone to come to this and get the book on this 1 day. And so what we're doing is we're now doing making it free, so a lot more people download it, and it goes to number 1 in the free category. And then we turn it to paid. A lot of people are a day late and they see, the book is still here. It's now 99 cents. Let me just buy it. And so then suddenly you turn, all those 99 cent buyers into enough to rank number 1. You take screenshots of Amazon, and there you are, number 1. And so obviously, if you're in the subcategories, it's very easy to get to number 1. Let's say weight loss may be a little bit more challenging than something else, but then you may also rank in the parent category, in the book category. So with 50
Right.
Shades of Kale, once we were on CBS Sunday Morning, we were number 2 on all books and all other
Wow.
products. Not just books in diets and vegetarian and cooking, but books in healthcare, books in business, etc.
Excellent. So not last question. I was going to say my last question, but it's not. The CBS Sunday Morning, how did you get a position on a show like that? Because
Yeah, again,
clearly you just said that made a big boost for you. So,
yeah,
but
but
most people can't get there.
that really came probably 10 months after the book was already in print and out there.
Okay.
So again, what you have to realize with traditional publishers, nobody is going to do your PR. You got to be the one hustling. And that means maybe you can get on CBS Sunday Morning, but can you get on a podcast like this? There's so many hosts out there that invite people on a podcast like this, share their experience, and you could mention your book there, right? So a virtual book tour, being on different people's podcasts. Can you go on local media? Can you go on local radio? So you have to think about your PR, just like regular traditional PR for your business. How do I make this a newsworthy event and get featured on TV? And obviously, when you get on, Craig Ferguson on late night TV riffing on 50 Shades of Kale, it was tongue in cheek. But any PR that you can get, you just have to hustle, and you may have to hire a PR agent out of your book advance to make that happen.
Yeah, love
But
that.
ultimately, what you can do for the initial campaign is step 1, get the book in Amazon. And, you can make it available as a Kindle version. You can also connect it to Amazon Create Space. So if people want a print version, they can indicate this, and then Amazon is printing the book on demand and then shipping it out to them. And typically, the charges are a little bit higher than an ebook. Step number 2 is, getting the reviews for the book. Step 3 is setting up a Kindle Select promotion. So you enroll in the Kindle Select program, and then you say, okay, right now we're in November, so I want to run this campaign for February 1st. Okay, which podcast can I go on there? Who is featuring the book on February 1st? How do I get media coverage for February 1st so that everyone is talking about the book on February 1st?
Okay.
And you need to give long lead times, because some of the publications, they have 2-3 months lead time. So you can't say, I'm going to launch this book January 1st. We're in the beginning, end of November, beginning of December. There's not enough time to get you a slot in January 1st. So you have to, think 3 months out in order to get the media coverage, to make sure everyone is featuring it on the same day. Because it's not going to help you if half the publications feature it on December 15th, half on January 15th, and the other half on February 1st. You want everyone to talk about it February 1st, 2nd, 3rd. So then you set up the campaign, you run your promotional marketing efforts, posting in Facebook group, having a social media SWAT team, reaching out to influencers, being on podcasts. And then, sales are rolling in, you get people on your mailing list, and then it's rinse and repeat.
Nice. Beautiful. You've given us so much information. Any key insights authors should know, or that something we haven't spoke about? Or
I think just recap some of the key points. That number 1, every book should have a lead magnet, something that people can opt in, so it builds your list, because ultimately that list is the starting point for you to sell other services and make money. Number 2, we talked about everyone judges a book by its cover. So it's important that you have a professionally designed cover. I'm not saying spend $1,000. You can get this for $200-$300, but that is an absolute must. You put all the effort into creating an amazing book. Don't torpedo the success of the book by having a crappy cover. I just have to say it that way. And then, have a solid content outline along the success path that we talked about. Really talk about that transformational journey, because if it's just a bunch of information that doesn't seem to fit together, there's no clear story arc, it's very hard for people to love the book, get into the book, get through the book. So, make sure you do this. And then finally, something that, you already alluded to, the marketing of the book. This starts the day you decide to write a book. Involve your audience, your tribe around it, talk about it, get them involved in journey, build anticipation. You can't just, do this in private, and then the book is ready. It's like, ta-da, my book is here, buy it. And then people is like, what? So enroll them into the journey, almost if they co-create it, they will support it and they will buy it.
Oh, I love that idea. Love that idea.
Oftentimes, you can ask for input in survey. If we were talking about XYZ, what are some of the most important things that you have questions about? What has you stuck? Involve the audience to sort of make sure that what you talk about is actually relevant to them. And that obviously, is predicated on the fact that you know exactly who your ideal client avatar or customer avatar is, because, it's their questions that you answer in the book that gets them to buy the book.
Fabulous. I'm actually reading another book that kind of said that same thing, that your audience actually knows what it needs to know. You just need to ask them, like, what would you like to say? And they can, or you give them a bunch of, say, would you like to know A, B, or C, or which is more important? And they actually write that outline for you.
And the other part that you can do is, like, if you want to trial your content in the book, do Facebook Lives with your audience, talk about a chapter or talk about 2 bullets in a chapter. And then the questions that people have, that's the direct feedback. Right. It's like, oh, everybody's wondering about this. Let me make sure that that is covered in the book. And so you could talk about your book in 30 Facebook Lives, get feedback on every bullet, and then use the Facebook Live and the questions and the recording to turn that into the material for your manuscript.
Fabulous. You are a wealth of information. I appreciate so much your time to come talk again with us on this great subject.
My pleasure.
Yeah. How can people get in touch with you if they have questions or would like to follow you?
Yeah, so we're at bigboost.marketing online. So you can follow us there. We have a lot of resources for integrative, holistic, naturopathic, functional medicine practitioners to help with their marketing. We're going to come up with a series of workshops in the new year. So they're on our website, so bigboost.marketing. And again, appreciate the opportunity to talk a little bit about 50 Shades of Kale and, the book industries. It's definitely one of the power moves to get a book out there, to anchor yourself in as an authority, to get speaking engagements, put this on your website. So definitely encourage people to do it. But also, be aware that it's more than just writing the book. Oftentimes they say it's 20% creating what you do and 80% promoting. So, don't forget the 80%. And there's a number of companies out there that help people with this process. We do this too. We had a division to help authors with ebook publishing. So, if anybody's interested in more guidance, go to our website, sign up for a free strategy session, and we can talk about your specific situation.
I'm curious now that you said that. Are there people, because not everyone is a writer, but there's people that have a lot of knowledge and a lot of content themselves, but have no idea how to write the book or even have the desire to write the book. Or maybe people have asked them to write the book. Is there a person that they can work with that can kind of get that out of their head to actually create the book? Is that what you're saying you do?
Yeah, we don't do that part. Usually we work with authors that have a finished manuscript, and then we consult on the creation of the manuscript and the book title, etc., and then just project manage it. But, other people are writing it. So there is what we call a writer. They could partner with you and they're just ghostwriting the book for you.
Okay.
There's another option, a strategic editor, that is like just looking, does this make sense, how it's read, and rewrite certain section, but they're not writing the book from scratch. And a strategic editor could make sense if you actually recorded your book outline. You have all these snippets transcribed. They're the ones that sort of merge all the different snippets into something cohesive. And then you have a line editor that looks at the finished manuscript and just makes sure that all the Oxford commas are in the right place, that the right spelling is there, and that it's clean. Because again, as a holistic practitioner, you want to look good and you want to show that you have attention to detail. So a lot of typos and misspellings is probably not going to help you.
Yep.
So those are the 3 people that can help along this process. And you have to decide what type of person you need. It's probably impossible to find somebody that is a ghostwriter and a proofing editor and doing this. But, again, we can refer to people that have done this. and take it from there.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you again for your time. Uli Iserloh, people from Boost Marketing, if you have any questions, his information will be in the notes below. If you're listening to this on podcast or on our YouTube channel, his information will be there. Our information will be there, and you can let us know if you loved the show. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you coming out and speaking with us again.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you.